Welcome to So Many Receipts. I'm Flo Michelle.
And I'm Shelley Seddon.
And we are two entertainment journos based in Sydney, Australia, who love to analyse and talk about all things reality, TV and pop culture.
Each week on Receipt Roundup, we bring you our take on what's trending.
This week on the show, the Bravo Jewel in the Crown, The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City returns, the year's most controversial doco on Bonnie Blue, theories on The Real Housewives of Miami Reunion Bombshell, and more Erin Patterson. But first, the new season of The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City is back, and I'm so glad the show is on again because I love it.
Oh, me too. Along with Beverly Hills, it's the best housewives on TV.
Exactly. And so we got this weird Blair Witch-inspired first episode. The women are immediately off on a cast trip, although this one is in an RV. Lisa Barlow is not joining them. She doesn't fly coach, and she sure as hell doesn't camp in an RV. So that's what I initially thought was happening. But the real reason was that she missed the first part of filming due to a contract dispute with Bravo.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It was a contract? You know, it's not that often that I agree with Mary Cosby. On anything. But when the SWAT team cops turned male strippers, hopped onto the RV and disrobed, and she asked, "Where are the muscles?" I had to agree.
Yeah.
And granted, Whitney said it was very hard to find male strippers in Utah. Maybe there wasn't a lot to choose from.
Well, I thought the stripper prank was funny, but it might have been too soon with infamous Jen Shaw FBI raid of the Sprinter van just a few seasons ago. I think some of the women still have PTSD.
And viewers as well. I still get anxious when I think about that scene. So we got to meet Whitney Rose a few months ago in Sydney when she was here with Teresa Giudice for the stage show Bring Back My Wives. And she was so nice, right?
She was.
Really friendly. So was Teresa. I love my Whitney being a blonde. I'm not loving the new hair.
Yeah, Whitney's
the red hair.
She's very pretty, but I do agree with you. She looks better as a blonde. And I did like her being vulnerable and admitting that her business failed and that Justin was all in and they lost everything. Yeah. But I wondered, what business is she talking about? Is it the Prism Jewelry, Wild Rose Beauty? Did the bath bombs bomb?
Too many businesses.
I know.
Who can keep up? So it was actually a multi-level marketing thing called Soul People. By the way, why did Heather say Jen Shah is in prison where she belongs? She was one of Jen's supporters until the end, right? She's kind of changed her tune.
I think when Heather finally came clean about Jen accidentally giving her the black eye on a drunken night a few seasons ago, she denounced Jen and said she wasn't covering for her anymore. So
okay.
But so although Lisa may not have been on the trip, that's all they could talk about. She was like the hot topic of conversation. And Bronwyn says she's involved in at least 5 different lawsuits, and it's been all over the media.
But doesn't she have like 17 different lawyers anyway?
Exactly.
Is that why she needs so many? Also, I think they should make Britani a full-time housewife because anyone creating this amount of drama needs their own snowflake at the beginning.
Yes.
I think it's coming. So on to The Real Housewives of Miami, which I have to say I did find a little bit flat this last episode. It felt like they were all a bit tired, particularly Adriana.
So this week, the Miami ladies went on a Virgin Voyages cruise. And I was actually supposed to go on a Virgin cruise this month, but we ended up canceling our trip to Europe. I am devastated and will have to live vicariously through the Miami ladies because I love cruises as much as you love Mormons.
So everyone was squashing beefs on the cruise. Larsa and Lisa made up, Stephanie and Alexia made up, but I thought that was actually what made it dull.
Yeah, but Alexia did reveal a secret reason that Marysol wanted to punish Stephanie and not go on her private jet. She was upset because Stephanie had lunch with Adriana, her mortal enemy, and that they had a good time and got along. And speaking of Adriana, she's in a bit of a funk about turning 59 and doesn't want to celebrate her birthday.
Well, I get that she's glum about turning almost 60. But honestly, she looks incredible. I know she's probably had plastic surgery, but she looks really natural. She looks like she's in her 40s, but I get that she's feeling nervous because I think the only lady older than her is probably Shannon.
Maybe, yeah.
On the OC. Isn't she like 61? She's probably wondering if Bravo thinks she has an expiry date.
Well, the ladies don't know what to do, but they have to like do something. So they surprise her with a birthday cake, but even the cake is shady. There's some mathematical formula written on it. Written out in icing. It's 32 times 2 minus 5. So these bitches don't do maths. I don't do maths. And Gertie realizes this is shady and she immediately smears the icing to erase the formula.
So I double checked and that equation does equal 59, but I needed a calculator to help me.
So confusing. And the cruise is only for 2 nights. And then we see back in Miami, Frankie and Alexia are having dinner at Marysol's house and her husband Boo Bear is cooking pasta. But Marysol claims, she had a big lunch and she filled up on vegan cheese beforehand and she doesn't eat anything at dinner. And they keep cutting to her empty plate.
Yeah.
And we all know Marysol's diet consists of cockies, and more cockies.
Who invites someone over for dinner and just sits there and doesn't eat in front of them
Just
with an
push
empty
it around
plate?
on your plate.
It looks kind of crazy. She looked crazy. Speaking of Alexia, did you hear this wild bit of info this week that people really want Alexia and Tom Schwartz? Yes, Schwartz from Vanderpump Rules and The Valley to get together. He went on a podcast and said that Alexia was his Bravo crush. And then on Watch What Happens Live, when Alexia was told that bit of info, she looked kind of surprised and went, oh, okay, well, he is very nice and he's kind. And I think that seeing he was married to Katie, he obviously likes those ball-busting women, right? Because he's kind of passive.
Well, I think they can have like a BravoCon hookup, but as a long-term relationship, there's no way this can work. But
He'd be better than Todd.
Well,
the
Alexia
husband.
likes bad boys, like cocaine cowboys, and Schwartz, there's no way he's rich enough.
No, it's true.
So Stephanie, meanwhile, is planning the Shoma Christmas party and has asked Adriana to perform. And the two get together to talk about logistics. And Stephanie reveals to Adriana that she now knows that Marysol's the enemy. So I think this would definitely cheer Adriana up. After being dumped by Julia this season, she now has a strong ally, finally.
Yeah, true. So can we just talk about what we think this huge Real Housewives of Miami reunion bombshell might be?
Yes.
Because it keeps getting teased everywhere. So this was filmed on August 8th. And the two main theories that are floating around Reddit are speculation either on Julia or Stephanie. So Alexia recently said on Watch What Happens Live that the bombshell nearly made her fall off her chair. And Andy said the same thing, and both looked deadly serious, which made me think, well, is it negative? So the first theory is that Julia and Martina either gave back their adopted sons or split up. But that seems unlikely because Julia recently posted on Instagram about buying horses and celebrating family life with the boys. Plus, she shared pics with Martina at the US Open, and she did this loving anniversary tribute. So,
well, I do think Julia has lots of skeletons in her closet, but I don't think it's about her. And Adriana said there's a conversation at the reunion about Julia not graduating from high school in Russia, but that's not bombshell level.
I don't think that's
bombshell. Just shaming. That's just being shady.
The second theory is that Stephanie might quit the show after one season. So this feels more plausible as she's just announced on Instagram that Shoma, her real estate company with Masood, is expanding to Dubai. So hinting that maybe she might relocate.
Yeah. So
what do you think?
They might be expanding because Stephanie and Masood, they're rumored to be having a lot of money problems.
Yeah.
Like there's bankruptcy rumors, their house is in foreclosure, they had to put their plane up as collateral, etc. So maybe.
Yeah. And a third theory was also floated that Lisa and Jody got engaged or having a baby, but that's just happy news. That's not bombshell level drama.
Yeah, well, I actually think it might be Kiki, just because I remember someone saying that she was doing media interviews and going on a damage control tour immediately after the reunion wrapped. So the reunion didn't go well for her, so she immediately got out there.
Okay, but she's such a minor sort of person on the show.
I love Keeks, but it does fit, if you feel like you have to do damage control. I don't know why you would do it then and not, because we won't see it until 3 months.
Well, she was saying she was getting all that hate and Haiti where she's originally from. And I think I saw Gertie or someone say the revelation was a game changer. What does that even mean? Maybe it's actually nothing. Maybe it's nothing much at all and they're just hyping it to make sure we all watch. Wouldn't put it past them. Anyway, we are already halfway through this season of The Real Housewives of London, and American Juliet Angus has finally joined the chat.
And it is game on.
I just think that was so odd to only include her halfway through, kind of last minute. She should have been there from the start.
Yeah, and I said I wasn't a huge fan of Juliet's in the past, but it was actually really nice seeing her and former Ladies of London castmate Caroline Stanbury together again. I would watch a show with just the two of them. They both had good hair, good faces, and good clothes. They're not stuck in the 90s.
Something that doesn't make sense to me yet, though. Juliet did an interview saying that the producers of other reality shows often moan that everyone's getting along too well and that there isn't enough drama. But she says that didn't happen once on the shoot. The producers were happy with the drama. And in fact, Amanda Cronin then said, the producers came to my room one day and said, "You're too strong. Your blows are too low. There's too much drama." Like, what? Are they watching the same show as we are? I mean, it all seems quite tame to me so far. Maybe is there more to come?
Yeah, well, I have to say the picnic that Australian Juliet was hosting wasn't exactly edge of your seat kind of stuff. But I did find the back and forth slagging off highly entertaining. Juliet Angus asked Amanda how her Ozempic was going in an attempt to embarrass her. And Amanda just owns it. And she's like, great, I've lost 8 kilos. I highly recommend it. I thought that was hilarious.
Just do it.
Yeah. And so Juliet was Ozempic shaming her. And to me, it's just like the borrowed dresses. Everyone does it, especially in the US, but it's still somehow scandalous in the UK.
I do enjoy Juliet and Caroline, a halfway edition and someone not even on the show. They should actually book Caroline in every year as a friend of the Housewives. Like, just get her over from Dubai for a month to film with them. I mean, the two of them should just be the whole show.
Yes.
Anyway, Rose and Thorn time, and my thorn this week is for 1,000 Men and Me, the Bonnie Blues story, by and large the most controversial doco to air all year, and it's new on Stan.
So this follows British adult content creator Bonnie Blue on her mission to sleep with 1,000 men in 12 hours. And yes, she does achieve that. And in fact, it was actually 1,057 men in 12 hours. This is R-rated, and we see bits of this event and a floor littered with condoms and what she thinks about it and all the rest.
Look, it's an interesting doco, but I don't think anyone could give Bonnie applause or a rose, because what she does with these mega events, it's just too outside the norm. Firstly, I don't want to shame anyone who chooses to work in the adult film and content industry. That's okay if you want to do that. But a lot of the criticism has more so been that Bonnie's unique selling point is that she usually sleeps with very young men. So she targets 18-year-old uni students who are barely legal. So in a society where kids are becoming more and more exposed to this kind of stuff at a younger and younger age, a lot of people understandably have a huge problem with it. So what do you make of Bonnie Blue?
Well, I have
you watched it with your hands over your eyes.
I have to say, as a germaphobe, I was horrified.
Yeah, okay.
So I also feel like I might have developed a thrush infection vicariously just by watching this. And like, I was just thinking, how do we know these guys are who they say they are? Like, I had a fake ID in college, and they're signing, NDAs. Who knows if they're using their actual names? I just feel like this could come back and be a problem for her at some stage. She's lucky that all she got was a bad flu after this.
Well, I'm surprised that she said in it that they didn't ask for any STD checks.
But the thing is, like,
Just
you can fake
come with a
those as
condom.
well. Like, I don't think anything's legit.
Like, you mean fake a signature on a piece of paper?
Yeah.
So fake the date of the STD test?
Yeah.
Look, I'm not a fan of the USP and the target market. Older men, okay, make your own choices. But the young guy thing, I feel is problematic, because young guys are immature anyway. And I think getting overly invested in adult content or something like this at that age can maybe backfire sometimes. Like, I do wonder what it sets up for these guys later in life and their future relationships.
Yeah, I didn't mind her targeting the young guys. They're full of hormones. They're already going to be influenced by adult content by the time they're old enough to do a search on a computer. It's already gotten to them, so fair enough.
Oh, okay, right. Well, I just kind of think, what does it mean for their relationships?
It's not good.
Okay, well, then you shouldn't be in favor of them going with her.
But the thing is, they're going to see online porn anyway, so they're already corrupted. Bonnie Blue's just...
Oh, okay, just shrug our shoulders about Bonnie Blue. Okay, well, I was more interested to try to understand more about Bonnie the person. So it's very easy to argue against what she's doing, right? Every single interview I've seen with her has pretty much been exactly the same. The interviewer always argues that what she's doing is wrong for a multitude of reasons, and she also tries to they also try to get her to admit that deep down she's sad, or that she's somehow damaged, or knows that it's not right. I mean, did you think that deep down she's sad or regretful or something?
So I wasn't sure, and I may need to hear from your arch nemesis, Dr. Drew, for a second opinion. Like,
he doesn't know anything.
I know, but I
need
was
to be asking you.
I was glad that she was actually in the driver's seat. It didn't seem like she was being exploited, but I do find it hard to believe that this is her kink, and she really gets off on this.
Oh, well, look, I totally believe it's her kink. It is some people's kink. And honestly, I don't think she's sad. Not at the moment anyway. Her demeanor never breaks. She's always, I'm fine, it's my life. I was thinking, it's like, some people are okay with being liars or okay with not having any remorse. She is totally fine doing what she's doing to her own body. I honestly don't think she'll ever publicly say that she regrets it. She admits in this that her brain works differently and she doesn't get emotional about stuff.
Yeah. Well, I just would have liked to have heard from a doctor about the actual physical effects on her body. 12 hours And it just seemed to be really glossed
Ooh, a
over.
lot of cranberry juice.
Yeah. And I read that she actually did have to go to the hospital after one of her shoots.
Okay. Well, as a PR manager, I also thought it was interesting that she uses one of the rarest strategies in PR, which is deliberate rage baiting. So she said in this, she posts up to 200 TikToks a day across multiple accounts saying the most outrageous things that she can think of, because she knows that will wind people up and get her hate and even get her death threats. But she doesn't care because if it gets her more attention and followers, she's fine with it. I mean, there is not many people on the planet that can take that amount of abuse and stress. But as she says, she's different. You'd have to be different.
Yeah, well, I will say she's a good businesswoman, but at what cost? If you get death threats and, at the end they said she couldn't even go outside by herself. Her marriage broke up and she only has staff around her. So she'll just have to keep being more outrageous and crazy to stay relevant and go viral every time. But what I did find really disturbing was the fact that so many of the young women, adult content creators, said they got into the industry because they couldn't stand the thought of doing a 9-to-5 job, like being a regular person. It's like, what does this say about society?
Yeah, although I did think that Bonnie's own former job, where she described how she used to find finance for the NHS, which is the British National Health Service, did sound like the most boring job in the world. Incredibly boring. But I do get your point.
Yes,
I totally get it.
Well, my rose this week is for Love Con Revenge. It's a docu-series which is a spin-off of the most ever watched doc on Netflix, The Tinder Swindler, which was about conman Simon Leviev. And one of the original victims, Cecilia Filojoy, was contacted by so many other women with similar stories after the show that she is now an advocate for them and hunts down fraudsters along with private investigator Brianne Joseph.
So just on Simon, he is always bragging on his social media sites, like he's got an Instagram page, that the Tinder swindler just made him famous and all those women gave him money willingly, so there was no con. However, this series seems to have shone more of a renewed spotlight on him, because just a few days ago he was actually arrested in Europe after allegedly scamming his victims out of $15 million. Right. There's no more details at this point about what they're going to charge him with, so it will be interesting to see what kind of evidence they have. And all I can say is, Simon, gotcha.
Yeah.
Don't brag too much.
Yeah. Well, with this series, at first I thought, do I really want to watch a show about dumb women getting scammed by con men? But I have to say, shame on me, because these women aren't dumb necessarily. They're maybe just more naive, and they're taken advantage of by horrible men who are professional con artists.
But I mean, for me, men asking for me for money is such a red flag and a big ugh. Like, even if it's just $50, that would be such a turn off. Why do I want to be with a guy who needs $50?
Yeah, fair enough.
Let alone $500,000 exactly. from me.
So, well, there are 6 cases on the show, and they all seem to follow this textbook format. The women meet a guy online, then they meet up in person. He seems perfect, and he starts love bombing them, and they fall hard and fast. And then, whoopsie, something happens. His account's locked. He needs to borrow some money, and usually he pays back the first loan to establish trust, but then he needs more funds, and then disappears and moves on to the next victim.
Yeah, so I watched the first episode, which is about a love con man in the US called Todd Dean. So that is actually his real name, and his victims did meet him and date him for real. So it wasn't one of those Nigerian love cons things on Dr. Phil where the woman never meets someone.
Right.
Like, they actually met this guy, right, and had relationships. And anyway, he fleeces many women out of money. Several of them are on this doco, as you know. And what stunned me is that this guy, even after all that's come out about him in this episode, he is still on social media, just like Simon.
Crazy.
He has an Instagram account, which I looked up. So he set that to private. But he's got a LinkedIn account. Anyone can go on that. If you type in LinkedIn Todd Dean, you can see he's some kind of business coach. And I went to it, and he just posted on there a few days ago some kind of motivational video where he's talking to camera, and it got 8 likes, but no comments. I mean, I think maybe because men like this are narcissists, that even when they are publicly shamed, maybe they actually just love the attention so much that they want to keep it going.
Yeah, I can see that. Well, I think what's shocking is that these women have no real recourse. If they go to the police say it's a civil matter. They won't even bother to take a report. And the only way they are taken seriously is if it involves several victims, and if they can prove that the person lied to them to get them to hand over money. So it will be interesting to see what comes of Simon's arrest.
Yeah, and because it's such a massive case now, I guess there's enough provable evidence, right, that people were conned, because you were saying that it's hard to prove and stuff, but there's a lot of evidence with him.
Yeah, I hope so. It's very frustrating to see how these women's lives are ruined and their claims are just dismissed. And the fraudster's backstory is always false. They claim to be a successful businessman or an ex-professional athlete, a military vet. And when they're confronted, there is no remorse. And a few of the people involved in this series have gone to jail. And one guy who stole $2 million in 1 year from victims and faked being a doctor, he's still free. And to be honest, this didn't feel like a Netflix show. The production value isn't as high end as you would expect, but you do get sucked in because you want to watch and find out what happened to these guys and if they get caught. So it's just an easy, good, compelling watch.
Yeah, and Cecilia's not a journo, so her questioning was a bit clunky. But yeah, anything about love con men usually tends to suck you in, right?
Yeah.
Because there's so many of them. There's so many of these stories. How scary. And because we can't get enough of Erin Patterson, the mushroom murderer, of course, I just had to watch the new Erin Patterson documentary, Death Cat Murders, which just dropped on Stan. This is the second Stan doco I'm mentioning this week. What's happening over there on Stan? They're on fire. Hadn't mentioned them for ages. This is part 1, and part 2 and 3 are screening later in the year. I'm giving it a rose because, look, we all just can't get enough of Erin and this crazy story. She's like the Melbourne Cup. Like, instead of the race that stops the nation, she's like the case that stops the nation. Like, every time there's something about her, like that, it's a bulletin.
Right.
Like, they're interrupting normal broadcasting to screen it. So in this part 1, a lot of it is what we already know, and which is about Erin, about Erin poisoning her in-laws. I can't even say it. I've said it so often.
Well, the thing I don't understand, with the internet and all of the true crime docos and podcasts, etc., why aren't people better at committing crimes? And Erin was allegedly really smart. She was put in an accelerated program in school. She disposed of the food dehydrator after the lunch at the local tip in a small town where everyone knows each other. There was a manual for the food dehydrator in one of the kitchen drawers, but she denied ever having owned one. She searched for death cat mushrooms on her computer. She left a trail of evidence everywhere.
Yeah, and there is quite a bit of mentioned about how intellectually smart she was. Maybe not so street smart, maybe not so, wise guy savvy. The new stuff is interviews with people who actually knew her, and it is an interesting insight into just how completely devoid of empathy this woman is, like all good psychopaths, right? Yes. So firstly, a revelation from a former workmate that she rudely yelled at a department head in her job as an air traffic controller when the man tripped. Who yells at someone if they trip? When he accidentally pulled off Erin's headphones, she snapped at him. Are you right, you buffoon? Like, in front of a room full of shocked workmates. Apparently the room just went silent. She secretly clocked off as well, half an hour early each day, potentially putting people's lives at risk. And when confronted and sacked, she just had no reaction, went, oh, okay, you got me. And her former flatmate, Jay, said she drank a lot and would often drive drunk. She continued to do that even after she had a drunken car accident and her license was suspended.
So we've got an air traffic controller who clocks off early and drinks. Yikes.
I'm so glad she's no longer watching the skies. Like, ever since, we learned her maiden name. What was her maiden name again?
It was Scudder.
Oh, right.
And the other air traffic controllers called her Scudder the Nutter. It was like all I can think about when I see her.
That's right. So she became jealous when Jay's girlfriend moved in and was also angry that they wanted to have private dinners without her. So she made their home life hell. And then Jay tells this story that Erin did move out, but when the girlfriend's dad died and she asked Erin to remove her stuff so grieving relatives could use the spare room, Erin said, I'm sorry your dad has died, but that's not my problem. I'm busy this week. Like, who says that?
If she wasn't so awful, this would be funny. But so her husband actually kept a spreadsheet of all the times he thought she was trying to poison him with her food. I've never understood this case. To me, it doesn't make sense on any level. She's apparently quite wealthy. So was she trying to kill her husband to get an insurance payout? But why would she kill the rest of his family as well?
Oh, I don't know. It's kept me up at night. I don't think anyone knows for sure, but we are going to put those questions to writer Glenn Hadrick in an upcoming deep dive episode. He's got a new book coming out called Mushroom Murders, and I can't wait to hear his theories. He's done such a dive into this case.
Yeah, that'll be so interesting. I think she might be more of a psychopath because she has zero empathy or remorse.
Yeah, it certainly sounds like it from these latest revelations.
Yeah, she's very cold and calculating and manipulative, and she doesn't seem to have any kind of normal emotions or normal reactions. And if she tries, it seems really forced, like the crying in the driveway with no tears coming out.
Yeah, but actually they showed a clip of Simon at the funeral, and he was giving the eulogy and he didn't have any tears either. So if you are an Erin mushroom junkie like we are, also look out for part 2 and 3 of the doco, which will screen later this year. And of course, we'll let you know about it and keep you up to date.
So finally, I was excited to watch a new Netflix doco called Rebel Royals because I remember reading about this crazy royal marriage in the Daily Mail, but it was so disappointing. So it's getting a thorn from me this week. So the story is about Norwegian royal Princess Martha, who marries an American shaman named Shaman Durek, who happens to be black and gay-ish. So he is known as Gwyneth Paltrow's shaman, and I do love anything goopy and woo-woo.
Oh, I don't. It's all rubbish. Okay, so first up, he admits he never met the right man, but that's okay because he takes everyone on merit, and if his soulmate is in the female form like Martha, that's okay by him. I mean, if I were her, I would just be watching his movements when he goes off with the foot soldiers and the security guards, just saying.
Yeah. So I'm watching this massive royal wedding. It's really over the top. And I'm looking around at the guests and I'm like, I swear I just saw Sonia Morgan downing champagne. It was this woman just downing a glass of champagne. And my Real Housewives spidey sense did not lie. Sonia was at the wedding. I Googled it afterwards because she knows Shaman Durek, because of course she does.
Oh, I mean, what? Sonia was I mean, I didn't see that bit. That would have been like kooky and kooky.
Yeah. And there's a picture on additionally, Cynthia Bailey was there from the Real Housewives of Atlanta because she knows him too. And she was wearing a Giovanni dress, can I just say?
It's a Royal Housewives reunion. I miss both of those bits.
Yeah, there's pictures of them on Instagram at the wedding. It's crazy. So I have to say, after seeing the Love Con Revenge doco, I did have Love Cons at the front of my mind. I'm not saying he's conning, the princess, but this documentary did have some huge holes in it. There's no information about his background. Everything was glossed over. All of his backstory that I looked up afterwards, it's just conflicting. There were a lot of red flags, rainbow flags everywhere. Yeah,
I mean, I didn't get the best feeling from mystical Shaman Durek either. I mean, there's always been royals fascinated by psychics. I mean, remember there was Rasputin, the mad monk, and the Russian Revolution, to Princess Diana and her hordes of psychics.
Yes.
I think princesses sometimes are attracted to personalities as big as theirs. And maybe that's the case here. And maybe also because their lives are so controlled, they've got a particular interest in the future. Like they're wanting to have that control over the future as well.
Well, there were also a lot of Harry and Meghan parallels to me. So there's a black person marrying into a royal family, and then the royals stepping away from their official duties. There were racism accusations, bad media and PR for the couple, and they sold the rights to their wedding to Hello Magazine and to Netflix to make this doco and pay for the wedding. So of course Netflix was going to go easy on them.
It was sort of presented like he was this fish out of water.
Yes, for sure. So the other concerning thing is he spent time in jail.
Oh, that's never good, marrying a royal.
And I don't think he has any training or medical licenses. And he's been accused of shoddy business practices from former business partners. He has an ex-wife and ex-boyfriends who say bad things about him.
Oh, he sounds perfect.
Yeah, exactly. So he's been with Martha for quite a while. And I have to say, although they're an odd couple, they do seem happy. I mean, I think it is an interesting story, but this could have been edited so much better, and I actually wouldn't bother with it.
Okay, well, I only watched it halfway through. I didn't finish it, and I was actually watching Real Housewives of London at the same time on my phone.
Multitasking.
Like the life of a podcast commentator. So that is it for this week. Thanks for listening. I'm Fleur Michelle.
And I'm Shelley Seddon.
Join us next week for So Many Receipts.